Welcome to Master the Process, where we break down recruiting, NIL, and the road to scholarships so families can build a real plan instead of guessing. Hi, I'm Coach Braxton, author, former Division I athlete, and 11-year recruiting coordinator, and the owner of NIL Sense, a college planning program for athletes and their families. I'm glad you're here, so let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Master the Process with me, Taquita Braxton, your host, better known as Coach Braxton. And today we're going to be talking about two mistakes that I'm seeing right now in our industry. So the biggest mistake that families are making. But before I dive deep into that topic, I just wanted to share something special with you guys today. Our 30-day recruiting lunch challenge. I'll be starting our second cohort of the challenge at the end of August. I'm super excited about this because we have received such amazing results with this challenge. We have so many families that are coming in that are stagnant in their recruiting process and leaving out with tremendous momentum. And that's big for us because the purpose of NIL Sense is to give families a plan that they execute and they actually start receiving the results that they're looking for. Most important, that they're able to say yes to schools and not just get a million different offers from places that really do not connect with you. In that 30-day challenge, you are able to go through 4 coaching sessions with me. It is in a group session form, and we take you through your lunch and communicating with coaches. And so when you leave out, there is a connection already built with coaches. So if you have interest in the 30-day recruiting lunch challenge, go to nilsense.net/challenge, and you can get all your information there. It is a very low barrier, and I do this because there's so many families that need the assistance, but they do not want to pay the big prices, the thousands of dollars. You can start this challenge as low as $47. So there's no excuse for you to not get started and get on the right path in your recruiting process. Okay. All right. Now that that is out of the way, also you'll be able to go on and see some of the results so far with families. There's some live testimonials on there, but you can see what's going on and how it can make an impact in your family's life. So let's talk about big mistakes that families are making right now in the landscape of recruiting. I want to start today by saying that you see a lot of stuff in content, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook or any type of social media, TikTok. If you're a family listening right now, I do not think that you are lazy. I don't think that you're just waiting around. I've really talked about a lot of things that I'm seeing right now in the industry. You know to send emails. You know to post on Instagram. You know to post on X, Twitter. Your athlete is playing summer ball. They're going to the showcases. They're attending the camps. You are doing a lot. You're doing all the things. So today is not about if you're trying, if you're not putting one foot in front of the other. It is about why all that effort, all the things that you're doing, and it's not turning into what you are expecting. So there are 2 mistakes that I see over and over again, and neither one of them are about effort. Let's dive into this. Here's the very first one. Activity is not the same as execution. Sending an email is activity. Attract outreach system is execution. And what do I mean by that? When I sit down with families, I'll ask them, how many emails or how many schools have you actually targeted, and why did you choose those schools? Most of the time, there's no real answer. There's no why statement with each one of those schools. There is a broad tracking system that they're using, just waiting for the response from the school. And which stage are you with every school is another question that we ask. Who's been contacted? Who's responded? Who do you need to follow up with? There's no follow-up sequence. It is a process and a system behind how your outreach activity partners or works through this whole system. From the outside, it really does look like you are doing the work. The emails are going out. The posts are going up. Busy is not the same as a strategy. You have to have a system behind, a plan behind what you're doing. You cannot be doing everything every single day, still not building a real pipeline. It is a process. I just watched this play out with a group of families in our challenge. 30 days, the same amount of time, the same effort. Every single family was able to get on and do real live execution. They built their profiles. They researched targeted schools. And when I say research, they really and truly go to the schools. We go to it and we make sure it is a fit. And we've already talked about in previous episodes what I mean by fits when I say the 4 fits. So that is part of the research. Then the outreach actually went out. Here's what happened. I had for sure one family received 100% of their outreach was open. We know that the coaches opened and reviewed their profiles, which I call an evaluatable profile. And then the coach called the athlete's high school to ask more about her. Okay. So when you target the right schools by doing your research, and then your outreach has a strategy behind it, and then you're able to track and see who's opening, and then you're seeing the results of that from a coach making contact to get more information about that athlete. Then you have another family got over 30 profile views from real college coaches. One school opened the profile over 16 times. What does that tell you? That tells you that coach is really interested. They're trying to see more and more about that player. Then the coach reached out to that family directly. A third family had a different result. They received conversations with them and a personal invite for a personal workout with coaches. But the reason why we're able to see that is because we were able to track all that was happening. Every email that was sent, every profile that was open. Who do we need to continue to put all our effort into, because we see that they're looking at the profile numerous times. They're opening the email numerous times. Who do we need to send more film to? Who do we need to send more information to? Because we're actually able to see the tracking, the numbers behind what's going on. This is not considered luck. It is the strategy that we talk about in the recruiting process. Being organized, having a plan that is actually carried out for that family. Families aren't losing because they're not trying. I'm not saying you're not trying, because pretty much every family that I talk to, they are doing something in the recruiting process. And for one, it might be just the investment in their training and conversations with their coaches, where their coach is expected to move the recruiting process forward. For another family, they are consistently posting on Twitter. They're consistently posting on Instagram. And then there's other families that, yeah, they are emailing. And then they're wondering, why am I not getting any response? Did that coach open that email? Is it time for you to follow up? Those are the things that I'm talking about, where we're talking about not just activity, we're talking about the execution behind it. Okay. Now, here's my second mistake I want to talk about today. It's one that costs families real money. Every ounce of energy goes into your sport, and none of it goes into anything else. And I understand why. The sport feels like it's a whole game, but recruiting is only half of what determines whether a family is actually say yes to the offer. The other half is funding, and funding doesn't just come from a coach. It comes from the academics. It comes from leadership. It comes from community service. It comes from work experience. It comes from your identity-based scholarships, a full resume, and not just a highlight reel. Families who are all in on athletics and ignore everything else are leaving real money on the table. And they usually don't find it until the offer lands, and then they don't know what to do because they didn't realize it was only a partial scholarship, not a full scholarship, and they have no plan. And they're trying to figure out, how do I pay the other half of this, the cost to go to school? The athlete tunnel vision doesn't just limit your exposure, it limits what the family can actually afford once the offer shows up. I just recently had an athlete this weekend receive an offer, academic plus athletic, but it still left a $20,000 gap that is expected to come from financial aid or outside scholarships or come from his or her parents' pockets. And so with this athlete, we've already started the outside funding process to close that gap. We were prepared for this. We already were working on closing that gap. Even though that offer came and it wasn't a full scholarship, we're already working on or executing a plan to make sure that my athletes can say yes to the offer. Not saying that this is the offer, this is the one and only that they'll look at, but we want to make sure that if it is, that we are ready for. Okay. So those are 2 mistakes that I wanted to talk to you about: activity over execution. I know we're all doing the activity, but execution is very, very important. We cannot make the mistake of not tracking and not following up and not knowing what we need to do to move our recruiting process forward. And number 2 is being tunnel vision in the recruiting process and only focus on the athletic side of the recruiting process. We have to focus on the money side as well. So we are prepared to lower the cost of school. Whatever offer that you receive, you have a plan in place to take care of the other side. Okay. So those are our 2 mistakes. Now, today I want to add a bonus section in here. I want to talk about the 5th year and the changes that have been made. We talked about this in episode 1, but I want to dive a little deeper with some research that I recently read this week. So before I let you go today, I want to give you one more piece because it ties directly to what we just talked about. There's brand new research out there from the NIL Forum research poll, and this comes from Bill and his team at the Student Athlete Insights. Let's take a quick break. 30-day recruiting launch challenge. If you have been meaning to start your athlete's recruiting process, but you just haven't, this is your moment. I'm running a 30-day recruiting launch challenge. Your family builds a real recruiting profile, creates target schools. You communicate with 30 coaches live with me, step by step, all the way. No guessing, no more waiting for someday. This is for families who really are ready to create momentum starting right now. You can get started for as low as $47. Spots are limited. Go to nilsense.net, www.nilsense.net to get started and to grab your spot. I will see you in the next challenge. Here is the headline. Most college athletes are not staying for the new 5th year the NCAA allows. Listen to that again. Most athletes are detouring that 5th year. Only about 4 in 10 plan to use it. And this is based on the research from the Student Athlete Insight. But let's look at football and basketball. The numbers jump to roughly 6 in 10 with football and basketball. It's closer to 3 in 10 everywhere else. The same pattern we see every single time. The kind of research comes that the money sports behave differently than everyone else. Our money sports are considered our football and basketball sports. Here's the part that matters the most for you as a parent going through the recruiting process with your athlete. Nearly half of high school prospects in that same survey believe 5th year veterans are going to close the door on freshmen. These are our high school athletes. And almost 1 in 5 said the rule has already changed which schools they were considering. Roster spots are more competitive, which we already knew this. The families that actually have a system are the ones still finding room in this tighter, competitive landscape. This is exactly why activity is not enough anymore. A generic email into a shrinking number of opening spots doesn't work. A research strategy-based approach does. This is important. Again, this data comes from the NIL Forum research poll conducted by the Student Athlete Insights. You can get some really good information from there. All right. Families who are stuck aren't the families that are not trying. I'm not saying that you're not trying. You are running hard in one direction without a system, making good efforts, making good strides, but without the full picture of exactly what it takes to say yes to the school. Effort without a plan still feels like progress until the silence sets in or the offer isn't enough. So here's our execution moment for the week. This week, pick whatever mistake hits harder for you, whether it is the activity over execution. If it is that one, go look at your outreach right now. Do you have a why statement for every school on your list? If not, go write one today. If it is the athletic funnel vision, sit down and list one thing outside of sports that your athlete could build into their resume this month. Whether it is leadership, whether they do a lot of community service, whether it is something within their major, so that they want to major in, just list one. And that's how you start closing both of those gaps. Don't forget, we talked about our future funding day that you set aside, just you and your athlete, and you focus on both the college planning side and also the recruiting side, that you are putting the time in. This recruiting process, guys, it takes time. It takes effort. You have to dedicate time every single week, or at least once every 2 weeks, that you are focusing on nothing but preparation for college. Email follow-ups, working on outside scholarships, putting a plan together, researching schools. You have to take the time to get it done. I hope you enjoyed this episode today where we talked about the 2 biggest mistakes that I see right now in the recruiting landscape that families are making. If you are making one of those mistakes, fix it today in our execution moment. And then let's also remember the 5th year, how it is affecting our high school athletes. Yes, there are a lot of current college athletes that are opting out. They don't want that 5th year, but there are a lot that are in our money sports. So if you are in the football and the basketball, just know that those sports are way more competitive. All right. I will see you guys next time on Master the Process. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you soon. That's it for today's episode of Master the Process. If today helped you see recruiting differently, do me a favor, follow the show, share it with a parent who needs to hear this. Remember, master the process and you maximize your opportunity. I'm Coach Braxton, and I'll see you next time.